Good evening. Welcome to the May edition of Ham Radio Q&A's Your Questions Answered. I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
And I'm Joe, KD9CJX. Good evening.
And good evening, and thanks for joining us today. It's a beautiful, beautiful day for the month of May, and we got a great show tonight planned up. So a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So we'll kind of get everybody situated here in the room here. It looks like people are starting to sign on, and we got a couple greetings. So Scott from North Boston, New York. I was almost going to do Boston, Mass, but it's Boston, New York. So. And we got another Boston. Hey. So it's
we got an opening to the East Coast. It looks like.
Yeah. And thanks, Frank, from the left coast for balancing us out this evening. we're gonna need that.
Yin and yang here.
So, while we were waiting for people to fill in, I think this would be a perfect time to kind of mention this. A popular question I get is, Pat asks, do you guys use the Untapped app? How about a brief intro of the beverage of the day?
You know what? I don't think there needs to be an app for my consumption. I'm pretty sure, like, I'd start seeing ads in my newsfeed for like rehab.
Oh, they already know.
Probably. It's for Bill Gates, you know. He's got nothing better to do. He's getting divorced. Hey, no.
Well, since last month I did sign up for Untapped, and I forgot my username. I think it's Mike. Well, I was drinking, of course. I think it's Michael Martin's 88. You can try that. But otherwise, tonight it is Third Space Brewing's Upward Spiral. I thought it's an India Pale Ale. I thought this would be a nice aspirational beer for this evening.
Aspirational beer. Third base in your aspiration, Michael? I mean, you're at that age where you can aspire for a little more.
Oh, I get it however I can.
Exactly, at our age. And she just doesn't yell at you. That's usually the best part. And tonight I am celebrating from our Baraga trip. Keweenaw. I can't pronounce any of the names up there. It's like they can come down here and they can't pronounce any of the Wisconsin names. I don't even try. So Keweenaw, black ale. It's what do they call this? It's called Widowmaker. There we go.
Nice.
So
I think I've had that. That's good stuff. It's my future in-laws. Not future in-laws. My son-in-law's parents, I guess it would be. Future son-in-law's parents have a cabin in Ontonagon. They gave me a gift pack of Keweenaw. So.
Okay. That's kind of like their version of the New Glarus.
Yes.
Okay.
Although you can find it locally. So.
Yeah.
TNCT says, Joe, you got a dish microwave? Hey, we'll talk about that. Well, what dish?
Very quiet. I'm spending a lot of money. Yep, it's a dish. Definitely is a dish, Tom. And if you look a little bit closer,
yeah,
there it is. 10 gigahertz transverter. We'll get to that later, maybe.
There you go.
It's still a work in progress. I was pricing out the coax. So, you just can't use like RG8 to go for 10 gig.
No.
And literally we're looking at how do I shave an inch off the feed to save on attenuation is literally what I'm looking at right now. I wrote this a little bit different so I can get a little bit closer to the feed horn and shave off an inch or two because the attenuation per 100 feet is like at 40 dB. So
100 feet.
So at 24 inches, it's 0.8 dB.
Jeez.
It's a lot of loss. It's insane. And at $15 a foot, I really don't want to buy a whole bunch. I guess it comes in a tube. So, it's not coiled up because it's rigid coax. It comes in a tube shipped. And you can get up to 5 foot in length. Anything else, you kind of got a special order. But I don't want to get anything bigger than that. So it's just
5 feet. Yeah, that's like $100 a crack almost. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, realistically, if I get it pre-made with the connectors, it's like it just could be 50 feet for like this much, this much,
yeah.
you know. But the good news is, hopefully, I'll be operating by maybe by the beginning of June. I know that there's the microwave contests are going to be out there, and I'm already getting phone calls. I'm already getting messages like, "Hey, are you operating yet? Because we don't have that grid square and we have a lot of rain because rain scatter is the preferred mode for DX
Hmm.
zones." So if guys start watching the radar, and if there's a good storm between central Wisconsin and Ohio, you'll get phone calls saying like, "Hey, you want to get on the air? Can you go out?" It's not like a tornado mode, is it? Like, oh, okay. Uh, and so it's cool because it's a website and there's an application for it, and so all the microwave guys 10 gigs and up really start doing that. And if
Yep.
you have a good storm, if there's some rain scatter going on, you have the possibility of making some really great contacts that you wouldn't normally in regular conditions.
Yeah, awesome. So, yeah, we're gonna have to we're gonna once you get that thing on the air, we're gonna have to make a few videos on it because I want to see more. So
You want to see more? I want to see more.
I want to see you. Yeah, I want to. I gotta see this thing in action.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some. Yeah, a few more people are starting to file in here. WZ, I know, says it looks like. I think yours looks nice, Joe, compared to Michael's brew. So it's you've got 1 point. You've got
Michael's
1 point on the
third base, but
yeah.
I got this lovely lady here with what looks like a hammer drill in her hands. I don't know if I want to go any farther than that.
She's down in the copper mines. So you better watch out for her.
She is the widowmaker.
Yeah. Now, Geo Astor RV, hello from Dinosaur National Monument, Wisconsinites until we're retired. So first time tuning into you guys, learning Morse code to do SOTA POTA. Well, thanks for joining us this evening. It's we always love to see new faces here in the chat. And if you got any questions, throw them in the chat. We'll try to get through as many as we can in the next hour. And I think we will kind of rock and roll in here. Let's see.
Wow.
Somebody was asking a question. Oh, here we go. Samuel was asking, so how does one start doing amateur radio TV? What equipment do you recommend?
I'm out on this one. I've never done it.
I've done amateur TV, and there's some people are starting to get into digital amateur TV. You know, when we're talking amateur TV, we're talking fast scan amateur TV, 30 frames, 60 fields a second. And there's some people that are doing, the digital stuff, like with the modern televisions, but most of it still is the old school standard definition fast scan TV. Like I said, 30 frames a second or 60 frames or 60 fields. Let's see, we got most of your better TVs. Your old, if you're going to want an old television set, most likely, or a converter box, so you can receive fast scan signals. Otherwise, you can look for something like this. This is an ATV down converter, and I believe this one's got a VFO on it, so you can kind of twiddle the dial from 0 to 10 and find that channel between, usually it's between 430 and 439 megahertz. And then this one will feed, actually this one feeds into the, this has got an RF modulator, so it feeds into the antenna jack of your television set. Some of them have RCA jacks, which then you can use a modern, like an LCD panel or whatnot. Then you'll need some kind of transmitter, and I got one packed away. I got a couple of them packed away here, but the same company that makes this, PC Electronics, they make also ATV transmitters, and most of them are either on, like I said, either on 70 centimeter band, 430 or usually between around 430 to 439 megahertz, and there's some that also do around 1.2 gigahertz, if you want to go that route. So camera, transmitter, antenna, receiver, and that's basically it to get started with amateur television. There's a couple other pieces you'll want because you'll need to identify your signal. So you might want a character generator to feed it in line if you want to get super fancy with that. Otherwise, you could always hold up a card with your call sign. So that's that's kind of I should do a video on amateur television because I got an old television set. I'll pull some of that stuff out, and you can kind of see how that's all put together.
Yeah,
so
last time I saw amateur TV was a couple of years ago. We were doing the cross country skiing events.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for the net control operators to see when the races would start, they put a camera out by the start finish line, and they just shot a signal into the chalet where they were operating on them, so they could see when everyone took off. It actually worked really well. And then they just had the gentleman who set that up for us. He was a ham, and he actually worked for the parks department, and so he just brought it out every year for us. And it just transmitted his ID in a little spot in the corner and the picture, and that's how it worked.
He had a character generator for that, and I think that one was at 1.2 gigahertz. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk. I'll make a note to do something on amateur television because it's really kind of a fun mode.
Yep.
And then it's as John says, SSTV or fast scan. Well, of course, those are two totally different things. I just talked about fast scan, but slow scan television would be usually you'll find that on the HF bands. Although on 2 meters, the International Space Station does that, but that's you're sending a single image at a time over the air.
Usually of The Simpsons, or maybe a lady casually dressed on top of a vehicle.
Yes, unless you're receiving from the space station, then it's cosmonauts, because the slow scan transmitter's on the Russian side of the space station.
Well, God forbid that they would send an astronaut.
Those images take almost 90 seconds to transmit. It's pretty slow stuff. So that's why they call it. That's why they call it slow scan.
You can set that up on a weekend. They do slow scan on 2 meters and come back at the end of the weekend, and you can have all the pictures on your computer.
Pretty much. I've done that. It's you just set it up to receive, and it's kind of like fishing. It's hopefully you get some good ones when the pass comes overhead.
Right.
So, all right, so it's a couple more. Jen from the Philippines. Got some DX coming in.
Excellent.
And Roy just popped in down from Foreland. And
it's Joe, not John. I've been called worse. It's never been called John before.
Oh, that's right.
So, even the people who call me about my car's extended warranty don't call me John. So.
All right, we got a question here on that came in via email, and was a Michael that asked about it, and it's about logging. So you've been kind of getting active on Parks in the Air recently in the last month. So
I haven't had chance to it. I've had one child move out of the house. I'm down to one child. That's amazing. Like any of you people who say there's empty nest syndrome, you lie. like 12-year-old, can I ship her out to boarding school? Maybe, I don't know. It's so much more quiet. It's peaceful. Now I just have the dogs that bark. It's just anyway. Let's continue. So logging for POTA.
Yeah. So he watches our videos, enjoys learning a bit. I have a couple questions concerning POTA, SOTA, QSO, CQ parties, or QSO parties, CQ versus a base station. So it's a brand new general, just got his general back in January, and he hears a lot of events going on. Is there a protocol for reply to any station that needs to be followed? Can I simply reply and give a signal report? Do I need to do special logging of the contact? Do not expect to be going portable, but just want to help out to those that are out in the field. So what's the procedure should follow? So we've got kind of two different things. Yeah.
POTA and SOTA, you don't have to do a thing. Just give them, just make a contact with them. That's real easy.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about parks on the air and summits on the air is there's two classes of operators. There's the activator and hunter, and the activator does all the work. So all you have to do is sit at home, and when you hear a station on the air, you make contact with them, and you can log the contact for your own purposes. And I always I keep a little notebook and that I log all that stuff in. But yeah, they're the ones that have to log everything and submit the logs and get them all uploaded and things like that. But the hunters, they don't have to do any of that. So that's a nice thing. Now, QSO parties,
you can just sit at home and participate.
Correct.
Correct. But QSO,
that's a little bit different.
And yes and no. You don't have to send in a log.
No, you don't. No, you don't. And I've sat down in the shack and casually worked QSO parties. If on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, I hear a few stations say, well, if they're good and strong, I'll give them the state so that they can get their points and be done with it. I don't, I'll note the contact in my own personal log, but I usually don't submit a log to the QSO party organizer unless I'm actually doing, I'm participating in that. So, if I get more than 15, 20 contacts, I'll say, well, to heck with it. I'm going to, I'll log everything and I'll send my logs off to the organizers.
Yeah, like if it's a Wisconsin QSO party, we're it. We always participate in that one.
Yep.
If you just make a couple Florida contacts for the Florida QSO party, you don't have to put anything in. You really don't.
No.
If you're working a Hawaii QSO party, that's a fun one. Everything is DX on that.
So it's your choice if you want to submit a log or not with the QSO party. But sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Depends on how many contacts I make. And if you want to get into the QSO parties, then consider you getting like the N3 FJP suite of logging programs, because they are really nice when it comes to QSO parties. So, WZ90 asks, would doubling the length of a whip affect the performance of a VHF antenna? I was planning on doing so with my Hustler.
No, you really don't need to double the length of a VHF antenna. I mean, it is what it is. The VHF antennas generally aren't they compromised. They're literally either a quarter wave or 5/8 wave antenna. So by lengthening it, you're actually going to lower the resonant frequency, and it's not going to really help you out very much.
No.
So definitely, there is a little bit of adjustment in there, usually on a VHF antenna, like a mag mount, and some other ones that you can adjust it, but you don't need to really change the length per se. It's usually either a quarter wave or a 5/8 wave. Those are your two options for VHF antennas.
Yeah, if you had a quarter wave and you doubled it to a half wave, your gain really won't change. Your radiation pattern will. If you had a half wave and tried to make a full wave antenna, definitely your radiation pattern is going to be different and kind of unexpected. So
yeah, so definitely, now I've taken like a CB whip and I've shortened it a little, making it a 10-meter antenna. That's fairly common. You just pop the antenna out of the base and you trim a little bit off. Remember it's stainless steel, so you can't just use a pair of snips with it. You gotta get like a saw or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can trim those down, but lengthening a VHF antenna really isn't easy. That's why I say you really don't need you don't need to have a antenna tuner for VHF, because if you're using an antenna tuner VHF, there's something really wrong with your antenna.
Yeah.
Very easy to have a 50 ohm massive resonance. Unlike HF and 6 meters, where we do make some compromises. Now, just a little bit of a side note, and not necessarily doubling the antenna, but
creating, you can stack elements. And now we're talking about like a collinear.
Right.
You know, say if you start stacking, if you had say like you had a quarter half wave, and then a quarter wave on the top, and you use sort of like a little piece of coax in order to change the phase between the half waves. And now we're really talking about increasing the gain of the antenna.
Right, that's a little bit different. Or if you're stacking antennas, stacking beams, things like that, that's a whole separate dark art. That's I'm out of that one. You know, I don't see Jedi mind tricks, but I'm not one of the Force when it comes to that. But that when you start doing that, that's when you start getting out the VNA, and you're making phasing loops and everything. And people get into that, and they can make some really exotic antennas. And if you make one, send us a picture and tell us how it works. We'd love to see it. But it's you're going to spend a lot of time, and it's going to be a lot of trial and error on those. So, but you'll learn a heck of a lot when you do it. So I'm not going to tell anyone not to do it. Go out and try it, and let us know what you find out.
You know, talking about phasing antennas, I do have plans to build one for 2 meters. You can build a phasing harness out of 75 ohm coax. So that's another thing on my list of things to do. So
and usually if you stack beams, so if you got like 2 Yagis that are the same Yagi, you would build a phasing harness out of 75 ohm coax, and that's how you would get those to work. And then you have to, the space between the 2 Yagis is very specific. You do that a lot for satellite and EME if you're stacking those. So, or if you're doing a weak signal 2 meter or 440.
Well, I was going to stack a couple of J-poles. So,
well, we'll do that after we build the 10 meter J-pole.
10 meter J-poles, kind of on hold. I'm waiting for the price of copper to drop again.
Yeah, the bubble's got to burst on that one before we can afford it. Right now, you could probably buy like a brand new Mercedes for what that would cost. I think scrap copper is close to $4 a pound for pure bright or clean bright. That's insane right now.
I should turn mine in. I bet you I got close to 100 pounds of scrap in the garage. Oh, I should have said that.
Do it soon because the bubble is going to burst soon. I'd say the bubble right now for steel is it's ready to pop maybe 2 months, and that because there's not really that much more there. The output is, or I should say, the demand is the same. They just are like 3, 4, 5 months behind in catching up with the orders. So that's why the prices are really bad. So as soon as they catch up, then everyone goes bankrupt. So sell your copper now, kids.
Well, speaking of copper and really good deals, I think this would be a great time to talk about our upcoming, my 4th annual KB9 VBR J-pole scratch and dent sale. So,
usually the same weekend as Hamvention.
Hamvention weekend.
There's no Hamvention this year.
Yep. So starting Friday, May 14th on my website, I will, and I'll pop the, I lost my mouse again. I'll pop my website up here. We will have scratch and dent antennas for sale at a really good price. And, you know, maybe just to kind of explain what the scratch and dent sale is I'm going to run just a 60-second video here. And this will sort of tell everybody about scratch and dent. And if anybody's got any questions afterwards, we'll field them. So, hi, I'm Michael, KB9 VBR. I take a lot of care and pride in packaging up my antenna so that they arrive at their destination safe and sound. But unfortunately, sometimes mishaps happen during transit. Not a whole lot I can do about that except for replace the antenna. But now I've got a big stockpile of slightly damaged J-pole antennas that I need to get rid of. So what does that mean to you? Well, this weekend only, it's going to be the KB9 VBR antennas scratch and dent sale. I take antennas like this, clean them up, straighten them out, tune them up, So a not quite so perfect looking antenna is perfectly fine, and you're going to get it at an outrageously low price. So watch the website www.jpole-antenna.com this weekend only for the KB9 VBR's Scratch and Dent sale.
You were so
And we're
good
back.
at that video.
Huh?
There's
I
no
know.
walk back here.
I made that like 4 years ago, and I use it every year for Scratch and Dent. You know, it's like that old remember the old mall furniture commercial with Big Larry?
Oh,
No, Big Clarence.
I'm going to go back a little bit further. There was a pizza joint down by Madison. If you remember
Pizza
that.
Pit.
Pizza Pit. Oh, the weather outside is frightful. Every Christmas, they had the same commercial for 40 years. I mean, it's great because every time you saw it, you oh, I remember that commercial when I was a kid. They think, oh my God, they couldn't pay for another commercial?
My daughter lives in Madison now, and she loves that commercial.
Yeah, I mean, still, it's made the transition to digital, like the digital television. It's still an analog picture, but it's now on digital television. It's like, like where did this come from?
So Saturday, it'll start Friday, May 14th. Usually, everything opens up at like about 8 a.m. Central Time when I turn on the sale, and they go fast. I think the first year they sold out within an hour, and then the second year I put on more. I had a bigger stock, and they lasted until the middle of Saturday. And the same with last year; they lasted about halfway through the weekend. So I'll have the 2-meter J poles, and I got a couple 2-meter Slim Jims. I think I might even have some of the NOAA weather band antennas too. I'll have to look at my inventory, but usually I have about 20-25 Scratch and Dent antennas that I rehab.
For the pink J pole,
I'm going to hold on to the pink one because I'm using that. In fact, I used that today. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. So
we worked hard on that one.
Yeah. So watch it. I'll send out some reminders as we get closer to next weekend. But watch for Friday, May 14th for the KB9 VBR J-Pole Scratch and Dent sale. They go fast, and if you want to get a antenna at a great price, especially with the price of copper these days, that's the weekend to do it.
Yep, absolutely. No, and just to let you know, I think out of the 4 years that Michael's done it, only one Scratch and Dent has been returned because it was dented again. So the odds are in your favor that it will survive. Just don't piss off your mailman.
All right. Let's see. It's moving on to another question. Steve asks, you've probably addressed this, but what length and how many radials do you use for your Wolf River coil? And I get that question a lot when I do a Parks on the Air activation with the Wolf River coil on how I set up my radials. What I usually have is I got 3 radials. They are they're about 33 feet in length. I keep them on a kite winder, and there's a little clip on them so that I can clip it to the base of the antenna. And usually, depending on the band, I may unroll them all the way, or most of the way, or half of the way. You know, usually about on 40 meters, I roll them out about 3/4 of the way. On 20 meters, usually it's about, they're about halfway out. I roughly try to do not quite a quarter wave, but like about a fifth of a wavelength for the radial. And what I'll do is I'll pick a frequency and then use the antenna analyzer to do a rough tune with the collar. And then when I get down as close as I can, I'll start to fiddle with the coils, bring them in a little bit or pull them out a little bit, and then make a final adjustment with the collar. And I usually get down, doing that, I get down to about 1.2 to 1, give or take.
Yeah. Kite winders are amazing for portable activations. Not only can you put radials on them, I use a kite winder for the bunny stick, and that works great. But if you get a couple extra ones, you can wrap up paracord on them or some string or some rope. Then you have plenty of rope for whatever you need to do. I have like 150 feet on one of them. Just some like 1/4 inch paracord, And that just comes into handy. So this past weekend when we did our activation, I broke that out for our 80 meters antenna. But the same thing. So if you keep a counterpoise on there, another thing you can do is take some colored electrical tape and put a little bit of tape on there for 20 meters, put a little tape on there for 30 meters or 40 meters, so you don't have to like get out and measure it every time. You can just kind of, guesstimate where it worked. And, and then usually it's a half turn or maybe a quarter turn back and forth, playing with those coils a little bit, because RF doesn't go past the coil. So if you extend it out, it'll go farther. And you bring it in, you don't have to cut the wire in order to make it a resonance at a quarter wavelength or whatever you're trying to do. And that's how the buddy pole or buddy stick works with their radial. And if you're like Michael and you use 2 radials or even 3, you can use a few more radials. Once you start getting more and more, it's diminishing returns. So 2 or 3 for portable operation is perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 3 is a little bit harder to tune, but you may get some more gain. Your mileage may vary.
1 isn't enough. 2 is decent. I'm below 1.5 to 1 with 2 radials, and 3 gives me just a little bit more performance. So 2 is fine, but 3 is good. And when you get over 5 for portable, then the returns diminish greatly, and it's not, the effort it takes to fiddle with 5, 7, 9 radials just isn't worth it anymore.
No, so. I wouldn't do more than 3 for portable operations. If you're setting up a vertical in your backyard for permanent use, then you want to get as much copper as you can on the ground. But for just going out on a Saturday afternoon, 2 to 3 radials is more than enough. And you'll find that even adding a 3rd radial, that's a lot more tuning. That's a lot more fiddling around. And, when I go out to do an activation, I'm out there to make contacts. I'm not there to play for an hour for an antenna. Well, I got to play for an antenna for an hour, I'm probably going home. Exactly.
WZ90 says, I need to make a quarter wavelength radio sets on 75 for my Wolf River. And it should continue on the next message, silver coil. So I think that's the Silver Bullet 1000. So I think she's got that. I think the 33 feet is enough for 75 meters, if I remember correctly. If according to the instructions, 33 is usually good. You can go a little bit longer, and if you had, say, 40 feet on 40 feet of or even 50 feet, if you wanted to get 100, if you say you got 100 feet of wire at the home improvement store, you could cut it into 2 50-foot pieces, but I think you'd be better off cutting it into 3 33-foot segments, and 33 feet will be enough for 75 meters.
33 feet is the length that they come with on the buddy stick.
Yeah.
But that is only for 40 meters. They say about 32 feet for 40 meters. So it's interesting that's good, but it really depends on how much length you have in your whip and how much coil you have. Whereas the Silver Bullets 1000, I think, is good for 80 meters, and it uses the same amount of wire for a counterpoise. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, Mike says that Gary has radio kits for $20, so the radio kit's probably cheaper than buying 100 feet of.
He might be losing money with copper prices these days, unless he stocked up.
I just bought.
If you can find PTFE wire, what is the Teflon insulated wire, like a 16 gauge, that's great. That's perfect. It's light and it doesn't really kink. It doesn't give you the curly cues. We call them something else in the electrician world. It's not a word I can say on YouTube usually without a bleep. But it stays straighter. It coils up better on the kite winders. And if you can get that PTFE wire, it's a little bit more expensive, but something to consider.
Yeah. So. All right. What's your go-to brand of Bratwurst? Thanks for the great radio content, tasty camping meals. We should talk about that, and we'll talk about Baraga. So, favorite brand? Well, it's I would we be lying by saying Johnsonville? So
I don't usually. Well, I'll buy Johnsonville. There's a lot of good butcher shops around here that have great brats, and we'll pick up those. Name brand, you got Johnsonville, Usinger,
Clements.
Those are great brands if you can get them nationally. But if you're in Wisconsin, you know where to get the good brats, and it's not usually a brand that you can even pronounce.
Yeah, exactly. My corner market, I got a little bodega around the corner from where I live, and I usually get there. They make fresh brats every day, so I'll usually go there and pick some up.
And really, it's not the brand; it's what you boil them
in. Yeah. There you go.
It's what you boil them in. And if you watch our video, I show you what we boil them
in. So let's talk about, I think we're at the bottom of the hour. He says, I was hoping that you would say Johnsonville because that seems the most reliable in terms of availability and flavor. So they're made in Sheboygan, or as we pronounce it, Beshoygan.
Expensive, I would say, but it's a name brand.
You get the family packs on sale and freeze half of them.
Exactly. So. Or you go home with all the ones that I had left.
I ate one today.
You jerk.
There's a couple left, so.
Yeah. And once they're boiled and cooked, you keep them in the fridge for a week and they're fine. Just take them out, throw them in the microwave for a minute, and they're hot.
Cut them up and fry them with your breakfast steaks. So
that's what we were going to do on Sunday, and you didn't do it.
No, we had I had other leftovers. We had that French toast. There was so much that happened. We can talk a little bit about our Baraga State Park activation, and there was so much that ended up on the cutting room floor in a video and stuff that I can't really put on the air.
The Redux version.
But it's
the director's cut.
The director's. I was thinking of making if I had a director's cut, that thing would have been about 40 minutes long. So maybe that would be a
rated version. You'd probably see my dog passing a lot of gas. Is really how it's unrated.
Well, you'd see the scene, of your dog peeing on the electrical pedestal. So
he's not really bright, really. I have 3 dogs and I brought the dumb one, but he's cute and everyone loves him.
Yeah.
And he stinks horribly. Like you got a dog with gas and he Dutch ovens you. Oh God, man, real bad.
Yeah.
But anyways, on a real note, so we did go out to Baraga County, Baraga State Park, up in the UP of Michigan. We made 130 contacts.
130, 140. So
I still got to get the logs put together. So if you made contact with Whiskey 9 November Alpha this weekend, I got to work on the contacts because we had 3 different operators technically over the course of 2 days because we did a late shift or a night shift. Yep. So it's 2 separate activations over 3 operators. And trying to get that in the AC log and get it to format correctly is a little bit of a challenge. So that's my goal this weekend. And then we'll get those sent over to Parks on the Air so you guys can all get credit for working us. We made a lot of park to parks. I bet you we had 10 or 12 park to parks.
Yeah.
20 and 40 meters. Just an absolute blast. The weather was good. The bands were decent. A little QRM with the QSO parties going on. The 6 Land QSO party was going on. Florida was going on. And maybe Utah?
Yeah.
I think Utah this weekend.
You were a little more crowded on 20 meters than I was on 40 meters. I pretty much stuck to 40 meters, and there were some crowded spots, but I think the only QSO parties in 40-meter range of me was Indiana and North Dakota.
Yeah.
So, and then as the band went longer, there was an East Coast one. I don't remember if it was which one it.
It wasn't
Connecticut
New
or
England.
something. Yeah.
It wasn't New England, but
No, it wasn't the New England QSO party, but I think it might have been the Connecticut QSO party,
okay,
but,
yeah,
or something. So,
yeah. But
but yeah,
we still we held our ground and running portable. We were off grid. We
yep.
just ran batteries. We had a heck of a time. And check out the video. It just dropped yesterday. It's a little bit of one of your longer videos. It's over 20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes and 4 seconds. So it's not the longest
over
one.
20 minutes. Over 20 minutes and 4 seconds.
It's worth it. It's a real fun. It's a real fun watch.
It was a blast. Honestly, we're already talking about where we want to go next year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be kind of a more of a tradition now. Get into, what can I say? It was great. I think we all needed it after being locked down for a year too.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we've all both Michael and I have been pretty adamant about staying safe, and now that we're all vaccinated, I got my ouchie. The second one is a little rough. I will admit that. I got my second one, Moderna, and I felt great Sunday. I was on a Sunday afternoon, like whatever, Monday morning, like 5 o'clock, I got up out of bed and I collapsed and went right back to bed. Literally, I fell back to my bed. I'm like, whoa, what happened? And so, I got back up, and I felt bad for like an hour or two. I got to work, like, oh, God, why am I at work? Oh, it's Monday. Yeah. And by about 9 o'clock, I was fine. Like, okay.
Yeah, that's like my wife. She had a delayed response. Hers caught up with her about 24 hours afterwards. I felt kind of sniffly for about a day and a half, and then just drank a ton of water, a ton of water. And by Sunday, I was feeling great again. So
yeah, the virus, if that's just the reaction, the virus is much worse. So
yeah, I'll take that into.
Yeah, we just got to keep at it in here, and we'll get through it, and we'll get everything back to normal. So
absolutely. So we got a question here. Greg asks, recommendation for a first base station HF vertical 20 to 30 feet, but limited radial room. Best coax for the buck, 50 feet. Let's start at the end first. Best coax for the buck. For HF, you can cheap out and use RG8X. And it's that'll be fine for you. And it's
50 feet for like $35 on Amazon.
Yeah,
I go buy it. And the nice thing about it is, if it gets trashed on an activation, I just go get more. Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal,
But at 10 megahertz, excuse me, about 10 megahertz, 8X is about 1 dB per 100 feet. So
it's great for HF, honestly. Yeah. For a microwave, no.
But then for an inexpensive antenna, that's 20 to 30. Limited room for radials. It's always tough with verticals. I mean, you could go. The Wolf River coil. I set it up in my backyard all winter. And then just lay out 3 nice long radials. So you could do something like that if you wanted, and you can get an entire Wolf River setup for under $100.
Right. The Wolf River coil. One thing you could do too is get yourself a steel fence post. Mm-hmm. If you put it up by the garden, get a steel fence post or maybe a small painter's pole. Get it up 4 or 5 feet maybe.
Yeah.
What you got to do, and then put your radials out, and then when you got a mold, make sure you roll the radials up so you don't have a problem there. Little advice: you don't cut the wire; it wraps up, and it's real bad. But yeah, realistically, I put a Wolf River coil on a fence post for $5. You get them at the Home Depot or whatever, and they work just fine. Especially if you got a small backyard. That's a pretty good thing to do.
What I would recommend if
and a wife doesn't like it, you can move it.
There you go. Only if you're gonna go that route, what my recommendation would be, instead of using like an extendable whip, is to get the 102-inch stainless steel whip. Yep. And if you're gonna use it in a semi-permanent situation, is to use that stainless whip and forget the extendable ones, because they'll just gum up in a few months' time.
Absolutely. A stainless whip would be the way to go there. And realistically, they're not very hard to tune, or you can just leave it on 40 meters or 20 meters, whenever you operate normally, and just run with it. They're really, they are a very versatile antenna, and I can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah, and then beyond that, I mean, then you're jumping up in budget. If you're looking for something, like a Hustler or a Comet or a Cushcraft or something, then you're talking $300, $400, $500, $600
plus building a base and everything for it as well.
Yeah,
and so so if you want to go the Wolf River coil, even with an extravagant mounting system, you're still in for under $200.
If you want to, Comet makes one that doesn't require verticals. It's the Comet 7BB, I think it is. Yeah, but that's like a 500.
Yeah, the club has one.
The club has one. Yeah.
It's a really good antenna. It doesn't, but you're going to spend a lot of time making a mount and getting it established. And so you're spending $300 or $400 on the Comet. I don't know what the street price of them is now, but then you got to get it mounted there. So
they're like $400. That's about. Yeah. Another one about virtually no room. Mike asks, now retired with virtually no room for my favorite inverted V. What are your thoughts on end-fed dipoles? Joe, you use an end-fed antenna. So
remember, it's not really a dipole because there's not there is two sides. I've used a random wire with a 9-to-1 on for years. And the goal with them is, if it doesn't work, add more wire. Now, that's kind of your mileage may vary. I experimented a lot, and I had a lot of help, and I have a lot of length in my backyard. I have very little width, but I have a lot of length because I have a creek in my backyard, or a creek, depending on where you're from, and I can go way back, but I can't go any other direction. So that's kind of how I worked mine, and I got mine at an apex of about 30 feet in the air in a tree. Now the tree might have to come down at some point in time, so I may be SOL. But usually, I think for a true end-fed, not a random wire, but an end-fed, at 43 feet with a 9-to-1 balun or unon, and those work really good, and you can get those commercially made, eBay or wherever. And so 40 feet, if you got that room, you said 30, but limited radial room. So even if it's not a straight run, if you got a little bit of a dog leg in it to get that extra 10 feet in it, it'll work. You may have a little bit more of a directionality from one way to another. But definitely, that would be the way to go. And they do work. Height is might. You want to get them, as high as you can. So if you run them more of in a sloper configuration, so say you mount your balun or your onion on a house or on a post or something and slope up, that will definitely help it. You want to get as much wire in the air as high as you can as possible. Usually a quarter wave above ground, but every inch counts.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's height. Yeah, like you said, height is might. That's if it's low, you're gonna, it's still gonna, the antenna's still gonna work, but instead of a DX antenna, you've got NVIS, near vertical incident skywaves. So it's you'll be talking to the locals, talking stateside. And
you'll probably need an external antenna tuner as well.
Yeah. If you can get the end-fed half wave up at or near its optimal height, you're less likely to need a tuner.
Right. So at its optimal heights, you should have a 450 ohm match with a 9-to-1 unon that should be pretty close to 50 ohms.
Yeah.
But again, the internal antenna tuner may not handle it if it's over 3-to-1.
Over 3-to-1, correct. So. All right. So and Frank says, I like this, and I like the end-fed half wave. Works nicely, and it's not too expensive. Yeah, they're not too bad of antennas. They seem to be quite popular, especially with the the newer hams just getting on the air because it's relatively inexpensive, and they work very well, and they're easy to set up.
Very well, and they're pretty versatile.
Yeah.
I think is the other thing too is that you can get them, and realistically, the end-fed half wave is basically a zap or a double zap. So you're feeding it with coax and a balun, whereas the old days the zaps were just fed with ladder line.
Ladder line, yeah.
And we don't have the fancy finals that we used to be able to tune to match the impedance like they used to back in the day. So I still
Since
miss
we're kind
520. That thing was a beast. You could hit that with a rock and run it over, and it would still keep running. And I had some terrible antennas, and it would just tune them just fine. So
yeah. So speaking of that, we're just kind of on a kick with antennas tonight, but I got an email from Andy. I have only a small garden. It's 39 by 24 feet, planning on using a 40-meter off-center fed dipole. Can hang the long element out straight and level to a pole on my back wall if I mount the balun on the house wall. Question is a shorter length. Could I just throw it over the roof of my house on the tiles, or let it hang down or hide in the gutter? What's a good solution?
Well, you'd be better off using an end fed in that situation, Andy. Then you have to have a counterpoise. That's the one thing you don't really remember with an end fed or a random wire, is that you still need to have a counterpoise. But your counterpoise can go in the ground. It can curve around things. It doesn't have to be straight.
Yeah.
And counterpoise is a similar length, close to the same length as your wire in the air. It can go in a circle, as well too. You can do that. But you got to get that counterpoise in the air or in the ground, and that's kind of key. But realistically, Andy, from what you're mentioning there, you're probably a good candidate for an end fed.
I would think so. 39 feet. I mean, you could 40-meter end fed half wave would just about. Well, you could dogleg it. You could dogleg it to fit in the garden.
Yeah, or run a diagonal.
Yeah.
You get a little extra room there too. But I think if you try putting it off center fed dipole and leaving the short and lay on something, it's not going to work very well for you. That's going to be a bummer. So I would try the end fed there, or a vertical like the Wolf River coil or something.
Yeah, you'd be better with the tile than you would trying to stick it in the rain gutter. But it's to have it off the house by any amount would definitely be preferable.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Somebody's asking about your thoughts. Are you guys going to buy the FTDX10? Probably.
No money. It's all right back here.
You're all invested in microwaves. Last year I bought the FTDX 3000, and
so did I.
You did too. It's and it's been recently discontinued, but it's a great rig, and I love it, and I can still get a lot of use out of it. I can't justify buying another, but since I bought a $1,500 rig last year, I can't justify buying another $1,800 rig or whatever they are, $1,600 a year later.
Right.
I suppose I could, but I like to get other stuff too.
Right. And your wife would want more stuff, and
well, no, she just buys stuff. So
how many antennas did you sell this month, Michael? More yarn.
It's scratch and dent sale.
Exactly.
I'm not going to get rich on scratch and dent. I'm just going to clean out my garage. So, if I
that ain't gonna make a dent in your garage, Michael.
No. The FT10DX is a beautiful rig. If I was like I said, if I was rig shopping, I would seriously consider it, because it's got a lot of the same features and capabilities of the higher price FT101DX, and it's just in a little bit more price, affordable platform for a little smaller. Somebody looking for mid-range. If you're looking for mid-range HF, I would totally go that direction. So, all right. Yeah, my wife says we don't have room for that many floor looms. So we've been found out.
Either she's listening or she's watching.
She's watching. She
We
probably.
love you, Christine. Thank you for taking care of my dog this weekend.
Yeah. Sarah, she took the test last month, or she said she was going to take the test, but she failed it. I'm going to try again on May 15th. So best wishes. It's terrible.
You'll do it. But you know what? Now you've taken the test. You know what to expect. You're going to walk in there, and I bet you're going to pass it. I always remind everyone, take the practice exams as many times as possible. Take them till you're blue in the face.
Yeah,
they help.
As bad as it feels, I think one of the silver linings is that now that you know what to expect, you're gonna go into the testing session more confident, and you won't feel as nervous because you've got that feeling of what to expect, and you'll certainly pass this time around.
Yeah. So I've been doing VE sessions or tests for 5 years. I've seen one person fail the tech twice, and come to find out he had a vision problem. And once he got that vision problem corrected, I heard he passed. So the second time is always better. So just chin up, you'll do it. I'm glad that you're going back at it. That's the thing too. Is don't
absolutely
quit.
Absolutely.
And once you get it, if you're like me, I'm a visual learner. I have to have my hands on things. Things will come to you a lot quicker as you start getting on the air.
Yeah, and then ham study. That's a great online practice exam service. There, it's it'll drill things through it. Just spend 20 minutes a day. Don't kill yourself over it. Just
exactly. Yeah. I did my lunch breaks. I took a practice exam over a lunch break with my old job every day, and that was 20 minutes. And I walked into my lecture and I passed it with 2 wrong. So
yeah,
not bragging, saying that works.
And Mike, here's another success story. Mike said I couldn't spell extra, but now IR would. So
we don't know how that happened, Mike.
if we had another hour on the show, we would dig into Mike's testing.
or Mikey Bill in general. That would be a video upon itself.
But we are getting kind of close to the end. Well, so we'll finish up here. Steve says, will extra radials on a woofer or coil make a difference? Like I said earlier, I think the sweet spot is 3 to 5 radials. By the time you get above 5 radials, the returns diminish greatly, and you spend more time putzing with radials than you do with being on the air. So I use 3, sometimes 2 if I'm lazy, but never more than 3. So
same thing. If you're going to be it's more of a permanent, do 5. If you're taking it out for a Saturday afternoon, 3's the max.
Yep. So, and Manabozo says, is Morse still required on the tests? No, it's not. Not since 2007. They eliminated the Morse code requirements for the general and the general class license.
Right. But as you can see over here, there's also a paddle here.
A lot more people are doing it. It's. I've talked to some individuals that are active with the Long Island CW Club, and that club formed about a year and a half ago, and they got like 1,500 members. Wow. Because it's a virtual club. So it's Morse code is CW is alive and well, and people are really getting into it, especially with the going out on activations like Perks on the Air and Summits on the Air, especially with the summits, because you got to haul all that equipment up to wherever, and low QRP Morse code rigs are a lot lighter than
they are. And the one thing that no one ever tells you, and I'm going to tell you now, but Duke is out, there's more knowledge down there. The old ops that have been down there for years have broken everything. They've tried everything, and they'll tell you what works and what doesn't. And and they will slow down for you. Yep. They will run 5-10 words a minute if that's what it takes. but you can learn a lot from those guys and guys and gals. But definitely, it's a whole different world down there, and fuck off. It's fun.
Yeah. So, and let's see, we got another comment here. And yep, Richard says, "Yeah, be glad you don't have the advanced test." It was a lot of people have said that.
Yep.
The advanced test was harder than today's extra exam.
That's the honest to God truth. And I've always said, if the FCT wants to do something with licenses, just graduate all or just advance all the advances to an extra and give them the extra privileges, because their test was harder than what I did for my extra. Honest to God. And those guys definitely have earned it, and they've stuck around for this long. And God bless them.
All of the advanced, I know they want to keep it. They want to keep their 2x2 call sign, and they want to keep their that advanced privilege. So we're finishing up here. I'm going to pull one more question, and then we'll talk about next coming up here of stuff. Rhett says, I have a 6 meter and a 10 meter hamstick dipole on my mast. Can I use one feed line and T in both antennas? No, not.
No, you can use a switch.
Yeah.
You can get a switch for like $20, but don't run them with a T. In fact, the T, like you see, the guys with the CBs, and they got the dual whips in the back of the truck, and they got a T. That doesn't really work very well. Doesn't work well at all. But because you have to phase them, and because you're not resident, there's different resonance on those. It's just a nightmare. So you spend $20, get an MFJ antenna switch, and you can go between both of them.
Now what if you had, now MFJ sells that box, where you can have 4 or 8 ham sticks. Like that, the octopus.
That is basically like a fan dipole.
Mm-hmm.
You have the multiple radios on that. Now, the issue with the fan dipole is that you have those spurious emissions on those because the old adage that electricity follows a path of least resistance is baloney. It follows all paths to the ground, but it will generally follow the one of least resistance the most. So you'll still have radiation on those other elements, and because they're not resonant, it's going to cause some problems. So they're not a very efficient antenna. And so if you have a 6 and a 10 meter like that, same thing. Now the hamstick octopus, FFA makes it. I think Chameleon makes one now.
Makes one too. Yep.
They work, yes, but it's the same as a fan dipole or the cage dipole. I've seen some of those as well. Is that you are going to have some radiation on those non-resonant elements, and that is going to cause some losses. So they're not as efficient as a regular dipole. But again, if you just got 2 antennas for 6 and 10, if you're a technician, spend the $20 and flip between the two of them. You shouldn't have any problems. It'll be a much more stable, workable setup.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I would totally agree with you on that. So, well, we're just at the top of the hour here. So I think before we wrap things up, just going to kind of tell you about what's coming up. The end of the month, I'm going to be out for a week on another trip to the UP.
Row your camper.
We're gonna follow just along the shores of Lake Michigan and Lake Superior in the UP for about a week. So we're gonna have some great parks on the air activations. So Whitefish Point,
give away J-poles all week.
Hey,
probably not. He'll probably change the password.
Yeah. So it's going to be some of the places I'm planning to activate: Whitefish Point, the last known spot of the Edmund Fitzgerald, the Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, Straits State Park, which is in the shadow of the Mighty Mac, the Mackinac Bridge. So,
are you going to hold the bridge up? 150
I would.
2200?
2200. You could do 20. The bridge on 2200 exactly.
Right. I think Michigan DOT would be pulling up along with the police saying, "Sir, get those wires off the bridge."
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah, does the Michigan State Police, do they still have those big bubble gums on the top of their cars? So we didn't see any troopers. We didn't see any troopers on our last trip. So
you did it.
We'll you did you?
What are you talking about, officer?
Yeah. Yeah, Brian said the food on our last outing looked awesome, so we'll have.
I'm still dealing with the food from our last outing. That booyah put me down.
That booyah the recipe for the booyah is in the link. The link to that is in the video description. So if you want to make that, you can find that there. And
we have one bowl though. Trust me,
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. It feeds a crowd. So
it's great.
Yeah. So, and then one more thing we got coming up next week's video. I'll just kind of give you a little sneak preview since you stuck around to the end of the show here, and that is today. Earlier today, I was out at an emergency communications exercise called NUCOM, Northeast Wisconsin Public Safety Communications Exercise. And I was providing the vital amateur radio link to public safety emergency communications. But some of the things we saw was trucks like this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is that a for sale sign? What?
Yeah. Trucks like that. And of course, my setup. So
I think you need to apply for a FEMA grant.
I think I do too.
You come and rolling in with a fifth wheel.
But hey, we had a fun time. So you'll get to see the inside of a couple of those vehicles there. That'll be coming up next week.
A fifth wheel teardrop with chrome.
Oh.
Brought to you by tax dollars.
Yeah, that was definitely, today was definitely one of those days where you saw your tax dollars at work.
Right.
Yeah, and you could see how amateur radio operators are self-funded too.
Exactly. We are self-funded.
So that's
my wife gives me $1, so she's like owner, I think.
Yeah, this Jen says, yeah, mobile station and a mobile kitchen combined. So yeah, it was great. It was great. We had a really good time, and I can't wait to share more with that next week. So look forward to that. So and Mike says, yeah, you got the most economical setup. So
Mike, we've seen your setup there. That's not economical.
No, well, let me tell you, I don't know if you saw that, but there we got I'm working the J-pole antenna, so and then the chameleon on HF, but so that's pretty economical.
All right, let's shut this down before it gets too late.
Yeah, so well, thanks a lot, everybody, for coming in this evening. It was another, like I said, the hours go fast, and it's always a pleasure just chatting with the crowd and chatting with you, Joe. So it's had a lot of great questions. Our next one will be coming up the first Thursday in June. So hope to, mark us on the calendar, because this is the one. There's a lot of live streams out here, but this is the one you don't want to miss.
Yep, that'll be probably talking a lot about field day. So
yeah, yeah, we'll make that the big field day spectacular.
Jazzy. Field day spectacular.
All right. So with that, everybody, thanks for coming in. I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
And I'm Joe, KD9CJX.
Have a great evening in 73.
73.